I've never done a Spooks before, so what I'm looking for in a Spook script is kind of hard to describe. I'm always looking for something interesting, always looking for it to move on, to tell a good story, to let the characters do stuff. And I'm always looking for it to be character-driven rather than plot-driven, in as much as each scene should actually come out of what the characters think and do and their interactions and their conflicts, and that moves the story along, rather than just a scene where they're just explaining stuff to you. And those scenes read well sometimes off the page, but you get in there and you start rehearsing it, and the actors have got nothing to do. They are just reporting information. And that becomes really, really hard to direct in a lot of ways, and it's no fun to direct. What you're looking for is the interplay between people and the subtext and all the things that you can kind of bring out as a director, that the script allows those gaps. The script allows you to pull that stuff up, kind of through the cracks, as it were. And if it doesn't allow you to do that, then you end up not having any fun, not enjoying working with the actors, and not doing particularly good work. So that's what I'm always looking for in anything. And Spooks is just brilliant for that, because the characters in Spooks are great. So you always know that within any given scene in Spooks, there's always stuff you can do with looks from people and little bits and pieces that you can bring up and use to just kind of texture the scene a lot.
You must see how this looks, Harry. The CIA quite rightly feel vindicated. You cannot override the White House and expect no repercussions.
Just when did this country formally become a US colony?
Oh, for God's sake.
Louis Kirvin cold-bloodedly murdered 2 of my officers in daylight. Broad daylight. I think he did that because whatever he's planning is bigger, much bigger than a double murder. My priority now is to track him down and prevent him from perpetrating that act. What? Juliet.
Our relationship with the Americans is so important right now. No one wants a war with Iran. You let the guy go, for God's sake.
It was a judgment call.
It was the wrong one.
So what?
If there was something I could do, I would. You're out, Harry. I'm sorry.
The initial production meetings actually depend. We had lots and lots of work still doing on scripts for this block. So a lot of we had a kind of weird initial production meetings because we were doing location recce's, and it was a kind of odd way around to work. I actually really liked working like this. We were going to locations and basically going, this is great, and then phoning the writer and going, set a scene there. That's a really good place. So we've got places like Thames Barrier Park, which is in episode 9, and Walthamstow Dogs was always in the script actually, and that worked really well. But you're talking about locations, you're talking about effects, you're talking about the end of episode 10 is always going to be a big thing in any series of Spooks. The end of the last episode of the series, what are you going to do? And that was a big focus of conversations. Are we going to do this? Are we going to do that? Are we going to blow this up? Are we not going to blow this up? Are we going to use CGI here? Lots of meetings about that. Other than that, it's the same with any show. You're just talking about who you're going to cast, how you're going to do it, who your crew's going to be. One of the great things about Spooks is that we get to bring on, as a director, I get to bring on some of my guys from other stuff onto each block. Normally you walk onto a TV show and you inherit whoever's there, good or bad. But Spooks has got this thing where they let directors have such free rein that you can bring your DOP on. I've got my script supervisor on, I've got various people, that art director I really like, all come on. And they're people I've worked with before, so I know that I've got a certain amount of what I do is automatically going to be transferred into this block of Spooks.
I mean, I know you're a resourceful lot. I know you're going to a huddle and plot. You're Spooks, it's your nature. But I've had the training too, remember, so don't be stupid. I was better at the game than the lot of you. Except perhaps you, Harry.
In terms of script changes and script input, really, I don't know how much other directors have. I write as well. I make 50% of my living as a writer for TV and film. So I'm automatically, I guess, going to have quite a lot of input into the script. I hope people trust me to change it on the fly as we go. We will go into rehearsal, such as they are on a show that we work this quickly on. But we'll go and we'll do a line run with the actors on a scene. we'll start to work it out, and we'll also automatically discuss script changes. And I'll quite happily just go, okay, change that line to that, change that line to that, and we'll work it around and cut bits and add bits and reshape it as we go before we shoot it. And it'll take, like, it's only like a 10-15 minute process, but you just kind of tweak it, and depending on what you've just shot, or the scene that went before it, or the scene that you know is coming after it, you'll play with it from that point of view. Prior to shooting, in pre-production, you have a lot of input on the script. Always meetings with the writers, always talking. The minute I was on board for pre-production, meeting the writers for episodes 9 and 10, prior to that, the executive producers and Andrew, the producer, had sat with them and got a certain way down the road with a certain number of drafts of the script. But as soon as they bring a director on, they're really, really good about putting you in the room, throwing your ideas at the writer, and having that dialogue open up so that you know that when you get on set, what you're working with is something that was agreed by everybody, rather than just something that's been put in your hand on the day and go and shoot this.
Adam Carter, how can we help you?
A word of advice. When you're out kidnapping a foreign citizen from his home country, make sure none of his neighbours see your goons piling him into a van. Kind of gives it away.
I met the cast at the read-through. I mean, had I been doing Block 1, I'd have met them earlier. Obviously, if I'd done it before, I'd have met them before. I'd met Nicola Walker very briefly before, socially, but when she was at the National, but I've not worked with any of them before. And I met all of them bar Rupert and Raza at the read-through. I met Rupert and Raza on day 1 of the shoot. First day of the shoot was when I met Rupert, and I actually didn't meet Raza until about day 2 or 3 when he came on. So yeah, read-through, because they were shooting, they were already shooting. They're taking an afternoon off of shooting to come to our read-through for episodes 9 and 10. There's no I could come on set with the previous director, but they're going to be working. They don't really want to meet the next guy when they're already working with the last guy, so.
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, the committee existed, and I was a member.
You mean you planned Diana's death in Paris?
Yes.
Why?
The woman was unstable. There were fears she was being manipulated by undesirable influences. She was causing untold damage to the very central pillar of the British state, the royal family itself. It was felt if an accident could be arranged, there would be outpourings of grief which would paradoxically unite the nation. We were right in that.
You killed her.
What are you going to do?
Tell Angela. Lift the lockdown. Call Special Branch to arrest you for conspiracy to murder.
Better do it then.
It will diffuse this terrible situation.
Unless, after all, it's not true.
Of course it's not true.
I should bloody well think not. What's the matter with you two? Lost your reason?